Also have some breaking news coming into the Situation Room right now. Senator Mark Kelly will have his military retirement pay cut by the Pentagon. The Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, made the announcement on social media just a little while ago. Kelly is a retired U.S. Navy captain. He's being punished for taking part in a video where he and other Democratic lawmakers told U.S. service members that it was their duty to refuse illegal orders. Hegseth also added in his post, he issued, and I'm quoting now, a formal letter of censure which outlines the totality of Captain Kelly's reckless misconduct. That's Hegseth's words. Pamela.
All right.
Good evening, Patriots. Welcome back to Harlan Reports. Before we even get started, I need you to do something for me, for our country. Go ahead and hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and most importantly, share this video with everyone you know. Share it with your family, your neighbors, your pastor. The mainstream media is trying to bury this, but the truth wins here. We need to get this message out to every single home. In America, tonight, we have a story that is going to make you stand up and cheer, and maybe even shed a tear of joy. It is the biggest victory we have seen in years. It is about justice. It is about honor. It is about our incredible president, Donald Trump, and his fighter, Secretary Pete Hegseth, finally standing up for the men and women who protect us. You are not going to believe what happened yesterday. Grab a tissue, folks, because this one hits the heart hard.
Respectfully, Senator, what the hell are you doing? Looking into the camera and telling military men and women to ignore the commander-in-chief. How dare you? How dare you do that? That's right, I'm calling out. I never served in the military. That's true. I have family members who did. Some of my best friends have. Marines, Air Force, Navy, Army. I haven't heard one of them, not one of them, say that was okay. How dare you do that? Is it treason? No. Is it punishable by death? It shouldn't be. So the answer is no. But you know better, Senator Kelly. You know better. How dare you do that? What are you supposed to do? You're a ranking senator. You could go to the Senate. You could go to the House. You can draw up paperwork. You can try to start articles of impeachment if you think there's something illegal. I mean, damn, it ain't like y'all haven't done it before. You impeached the man twice. Where'd that get you? Got us behind back in the White House. Had you left him alone since 2020, maybe he wouldn't be back terrorizing the Democratic Party the way that he is. But you did it. You did it. And here you are again with this nonsense. How dare you do that? I'm not a military person, and I know better than that. You don't tell military men and women to ignore an order from the commander-in-chief. You don't do that. Is it going to amount to what Trump tried to embellish and indicate? No. But that don't make you right. How dare you do that? He's the commander-in-chief for the United States military. Period. You have no business doing that. None. And by the way, the biggest reason is because what was illegal? You didn't tell us what it was. What laws? Why did I bring up A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise and Kiefer Sutherland in that sequence and Kevin Bacon? Why did I bring it up? Because the mere thought of you even implying that a military officer is engaging in some type of salacious or illegal activity is trouble in the military, not the court of laws for civilians, the military. Senator Mark Kelly knows that. Trump is giving illegal orders. What are the illegal orders? How come you didn't tell us? Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Why do you think the investigation is going on? Why do you think Trump is all over Pete Hegseth, over the Department of War and the FBI with Kash Patel, and folks are looking into and probing what's going on and how can they get to Mark Kelly because they know he did something wrong. You crossed the damn line. You are an elected official in the nation's capital. We have a constitution. You got a problem, you go through the necessary process. whether it's Akeem Jeffries in the House, whether it's Schumer in the Senate, or anybody else. That is the point that's the process you're supposed to go to. You don't go in front of the cameras and give military officer or military personnel a directive to ignore their commander-in-chief, and you've given no evidence what his illegal orders were. And if you try to sit up there and say, oh, it was just alluding to a future reference to future situations, oh, so he's going to give you an illegal order in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, that flies over the airwaves of Sirius XM or one of these news networks or something like that. It does not apply in our military. You can't do that.
Folks, I have to be honest with you. When I sat down at this desk tonight, my hands were shaking just a little bit. Not from fear. No, never that. They were shaking because I am so overwhelmed with emotion. I am looking into this camera, right into your living rooms, and I feel like a heavy weight has finally been lifted off our shoulders. For so long, we have watched people in Washington say whatever they want, do whatever they want, and hurt this country without ever getting in trouble. It hurt. It really hurt to see our beautiful America treated that way. But yesterday, January 5th, 2026, everything changed. I woke up this morning and saw the news, and I just had to sit down and thank God. Our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, a real hero, a man who actually wore the boots and carried the rifle. He did something brave. He did something historic. He looked at Senator Mark Kelly, a man who used his power to tell our brave soldiers to disobey their commander-in-chief, and he said, enough. Secretary Hegseth has officially started the process to strip Mark Kelly of his military rank and take away his pension. That is right. He is taking away the honor and the money that Kelly thought he could keep even after he betrayed the trust of our troops. It is a massive, bold move. It is the kind of justice we have been praying for. I am getting choked up just thinking about it. Imagine our soldiers, the young men and women far away from home, wondering if their leaders had their backs. Mark Kelly tried to confuse them. He tried to make them question President Trump. It was cruel. But now they know that President Trump and Secretary Hegseth are fighting for them. This isn't just a news story, friends. This is a message. It is a message that says if you mess with our military, if you try to break the bond between the president and his troops, there is a price to pay. It is the most beautiful thing I have seen in years. We finally have a government that loves this country as much as you, and I do, and this is just the beginning. The storm of justice is here, and it is glorious. Stay with me, because we are just getting started, and you need to hear the rest.
But let's return to Kelly's situation, because what we're seeing now is the consequence of his November video and related activities. Multiple sources have indicated that Kelly was not acting entirely independently when he made those statements. There are reports that certain NGOs, organizations with substantial funding and political agendas, provided talking points and coordinated messaging with the group of senators who came to be called the Sinister Six. If that's accurate, what we're looking at isn't simply a senator exercising independent judgment about military ethics. We're looking at an organized effort to undermine confidence in the chain of command and create the infrastructure for military resistance to civilian authority. That distinction is crucial. A senator can certainly voice concerns about policy. A senator can question military operations. A senator can use oversight powers to investigate and scrutinize. But when a retired military officer, still subject to the UCMJ, coordinates with outside organizations to encourage active duty personnel to prepare for refusing orders from the lawfully elected commander-in-chief, orders that have not been shown to be illegal, that crosses a line from political opposition into something more serious. The Pentagon's decision to escalate this from a preliminary review to a full command investigation reflects that seriousness. This isn't
Friends, to really understand why tears are falling in households across America tonight, tears of relief, tears of justice, we have to look back at the moment that started it all. We have to look at the wound before we can celebrate the healing. It takes us back to November 2025. President Trump had just won his historic victory. The people had spoken loud and clear. We were ready for a new golden age. But while we were celebrating, Senator Mark Kelly was plotting something dark. He released a video that I still can't believe was real. Here is a man who was a Navy captain, a man who knows what it means to wear the uniform. And what did he do? He looked right into the camera and told our brave soldiers, sailors, and airmen to basically ignore their new boss, President Trump. He used fancy words, saying they should disobey illegal orders. But we all know what that meant. It was a dog whistle. It was a secret code telling them, if you don't like Trump, you don't have to listen to him. Can you imagine how dangerous that is? Think about it like a football team. Imagine if the quarterback calls a play, but the coach on the sidelines screams, don't listen to him. Do whatever you want. What happens? The team falls apart, they get crushed. But in the military, it's not a game. If our troops don't listen to the commander-in-chief, people get hurt. Our enemies watching from overseas, China, Russia, Iran, they see that confusion and they laugh. They think we are weak. That video broke the hearts of so many military families. I spoke to a mother in Ohio whose son is deployed right now. She told me, Harlan, my boy is out there risking his life. When a senator tells him to question his orders, it puts a target on his back. It makes him hesitate. And in war, hesitation means death. Hearing her voice crack, it just shattered me. Mark Kelly didn't care about that mother. He didn't care about that soldier. He only cared about playing politics and hurting Donald Trump. President Trump saw this right away. He didn't let it slide. He called it seditious. That is a big word, but it means causing a rebellion. He knew that you cannot have a military if the soldiers don't trust their leader. Trump stood up for the chain of command because he loves our troops too much to let them be used as pawns. He knew that deep down, this was a betrayal of the brotherhood that holds our military together. And while Kelly thought he got away with it back then, he forgot one thing. Donald Trump never forgets an insult to our country. And yesterday, the bill finally came due.
John, the reason I wanted you on is because when I was your congressman and you were a military service member in Northwest Florida, we became friends over the fact that you were resisting this illegal experimental COVID mandate, and you now have been fighting for accountability for those who pushed this mandate, who drove people out of the military. And the core argument you've always made to me is if there are not consequences, it will happen again. So the whole reason I wanted to talk to you about the Secretary of War's decision as it relates to Senator Kelly is, do you think this is enough of a consequence where no one would think about making a video like this ever again?
Well, unfortunately, I think that the Democrats think they fall under their own standards, and I think they know it was questionable. I think they tried to use as careful language as they could because they knew that there could be consequences, that there could be court-martial, that there could be this reduction in rank. So it's absolutely necessary for Secretary Hegseth to consider every option that he has available to him in order to show this kind of accountability. But unfortunately, I think with the Democrats, they don't know a lawful order from an unlawful order. And you cited the COVID vax mandate. That was when largely, well, President Biden and other Democrat congressmen, other officials were pushing this unlawful order, this illegal mandate onto our service members. They had no idea it was unlawful, or they probably did, but they didn't care. So unfortunately, I think it's going to take a lot more in order to convince Senator Mark Kelly and others that this is unlawful, but it will hopefully show service members who are watching, who see this happen, that they can't just say whatever they want to say, follow whatever orders they want to follow, that they have to follow the law, they have to follow the lawful orders of the officers above them, because that's the only way the military will function.
When I was at the Pentagon, I had the opportunity to question this from the press secretary, Kingsley Wilson, over at the Department of War, and specifically on Mark Kelly and this seditious video that came out. At that point, it was under review by Secretary Phelan over at the Navy Department. And now that the review has been done, it was submitted to the overall Secretary of War. He's come down and said, we're going to see, number one, it will be this administrative action. And number two, we're going to see reduction in rank and the opening of a broader investigation and proceedings against him. This is unprecedented. We have not ever seen something like this happen to a sitting United States senator. And potentially, yes, this could include, depending on the way they go with it, it could include the full return to active duty. It could potentially include a courts-martial. It could include all of it. And I say bust him down to a butter bar. Put him on bread and water rations.
You know, folks, sometimes inside this studio with the bright lights and the cameras, it can feel a little lonely. But today, Today it feels like the whole country is right here in the room with me. Since the news broke about Secretary Hegseth standing tall against Mark Kelly, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. My email is full. And it's not just noise, it's the sound of real Americans, people like you and me, finally letting out a breath they've been holding for a long, long time. I want to tell you about a call I got early this morning. It was from a man named Jim down in Texas. Jim's a retired Marine, tough as old leather, the kind of guy who served in the Gulf and never asked for a thank you. But when I picked up the phone, the strong man, he was crying. He said, "Harlan, I've been watching Washington for years. I've seen politicians use us, abuse us, and then forget us. I waited so long for someone to actually have the guts to hold these insiders accountable." Jim told me that when he heard Kelly's video back in November, he felt sick. He felt like the uniform he wore was being mocked. But when he heard about Hegseth's move yesterday, the letter of censure, the 45-day review to strip that rank, he said he felt something he hadn't felt in a decade. "It feels like America is getting its backbone back," he told me. Trump and Hegseth are finally cleaning house. Hearing a grown man, a warrior, break down because he finally feels proud of his government again. Friends, that is powerful. Then there is Sarah from Ohio. Sarah is a mom, and her son is deployed overseas right now, in a dangerous place. She messaged me saying she hasn't slept well since Kelly made that video. She said, "My boy is out there following orders to keep us free. When a senator tells troops to rebel, it scares me to death. It makes me worry that the soldier next to him might hesitate." Can you imagine that mother's fear? But she said when she heard the news about Hegseth striking back, she finally slept. She said, "It's a relief, Harlan. It shows that President Trump has our military's back. He won't let them be divided." These aren't just stories. These are the heartbeats of our nation. Jim and Sarah represent millions of you who just want a military that is strong, united, and loyal. They know that what happened yesterday wasn't just a policy change, it was a promise kept. A promise that under President Trump, no one gets to mess with the safety of our sons and daughters.
Yeah, I think that, Senator Kelly's a guy that served with distinction. I don't know what he's thinking in this particular scenario. I know that video, I don't think it was aimed at the troops. If it was aimed at the troops, it certainly didn't land. I think it was a video that was made to create a reaction as a political statement. And the reaction that they're getting is Senator Kelly is now facing a letter of censure and a threat to his retirement and his rank and his pay. So I think it's an escalating conflict. And if I were Senator Kelly, I think I would try and de-escalate if I were involved. I know that would hurt the ego because you think if you back down, you're hurting your ego, you're exposing yourself. But I think it's important to remember that divisiveness does not help a team win, and it certainly does not help America win, and he's not gaining any influence in the military with these types of behavior. So hopefully they can find a more constructive way to communicate.
Well, they said in that video they have not only a right, but a duty to not listen to, quote, an unlawful order that was never defined by them. How does that help the military in terms of the chain of command? That sounds to me like they're telling the military, don't listen to your commander-in-chief without mentioning any specifics.
Yeah, you're right. It implies that there is some sort of unlawful order out there. What they're saying is actually true. Anybody in the military will tell you you're not allowed to obey and you must disobey unlawful orders. But they're implying that there's some unlawful orders out on the horizon or that there's been unlawful orders without identifying any of them. So yeah, that undermines the chain of command and it's not healthy. And I think anyone that's in the military knows and understands that. And that's why I think it's a dishonest video. And I think it's just meant as a political statement.
Folks, I want you to close your eyes for a second. I want you to picture a group of our bravest warriors. Delta Force, the best of the best. It's the middle of the night, pitch black somewhere deep in Venezuela. They are far from home, far from their families, on a mission that President Trump authorized to keep dangerous threats away from our borders. This isn't a movie, this is real life. Just a few weeks ago, these heroes were on the ground. They had a job to do, a job that kept you and me safe while we slept in our beds. But remember what Mark Kelly said? Remember that video telling troops to question illegal orders? Imagine being one of those young men in the dark jungle. You are about to kick down a door to stop a bad guy. Your heart is pounding. You trust your training and you trust your president. But then a voice in the back of your head, a voice put there by a US senator, whispers, "Is this legal? Should I be doing this?" If that soldier hesitates for even 1 second. Folks, that 1 second is the difference between coming home to his wife and kids or coming home in a flag-draped box. That is the poison Mark Kelly tried to pour into the ears of our heroes. He tried to make them doubt. He tried to freeze them up when they needed to be fast and strong. But here is the miracle, and here is why I am wiping tears away right now. Our boys didn't listen to the doubt. They listened to their commander-in-chief. They executed that mission flawlessly. They took down the threat, and they all came back alive. They came home. When Secretary Hegseth stripped Kelly of his rank yesterday, he wasn't just punishing a politician. He was protecting the next team of Delta Force guys going out tonight. He was saying, "We will never let anyone confuse you again. We will never let anyone put your lives at risk for a political game." That is what love looks like, friends. It's a fierce love. President Trump loves those soldiers enough to clear the path for them. He loves them enough to say, "I am the leader. I take the responsibility. You just do the job and come home safe." And seeing Hegseth stand up and roar like a lion to protect that bond, it makes me prouder to be an American than I have been in a long, long time. I need to take a moment here, folks, because my heart is just so full. I want you to look at the flag, maybe the one hanging on your porch, or the one at your child's school. When you see those stars and stripes, what do you feel? I feel a lump in my throat every single time. That flag isn't just cloth. It is the blood of patriots. It is the tears of mothers who never saw their sons again. It is the promise that no matter how dark the world gets, America will be the light. For too long, we watched people treat that flag like it didn't matter. They burned it, they knelt during the anthem, and they mocked the values it stands for. And Mark Kelly, when he told our troops to rebel, he wasn't just attacking President Trump. He was spitting on that flag. He was telling the world that our unity, the very top thing that makes those stars shine, was broken. But yesterday, Pete Hegseth picked that flag up off the ground. He dusted it off, he held it high. By holding Kelly accountable, he told every single American that our flag is sacred again. He told us that honor still means something in 2026. I'm thinking about my own dad right now. He served in Korea. He didn't have much growing up, but he had his pride in this country. If he were alive today to see a Secretary of Defense finally standing up for the respect of the military, I know he would be weeping with joy. He would say, "Finally, son, finally someone cares." And that is what President Trump has given us. He has given us permission to love our country again without apologizing. He has given us leaders like Hegseth, who aren't afraid to fight for the soul of this nation. It is a beautiful, beautiful day to be an American. The weight of that flag feels a little lighter today because we know there are strong hands holding it up in Washington. We aren't carrying it alone anymore. Folks, we have fighters in the White House who cherish it just as much as we do. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in the here and now, we forget where we came from. But today, with this news about Secretary Hegseth and Mark Kelly, I can't help but look back. I'm thinking about the men who built this country. I'm thinking about George Washington. Back in the Revolutionary War, things were tough. Our soldiers were cold, hungry, and tired. There were moments when some people wanted to quit, maybe even rebel against the generals. But Washington knew something important. He knew that without order, without loyalty, we would lose everything. He stood tall, demanded discipline. And because of that, we have a country today. That is exactly what President Trump is doing right now. He is channeling that same spirit. When Mark Kelly tried to sow doubt, he was threatening the very foundation Washington built. But Trump, he said no, just like the great leaders of World War II, FDR, Truman, who led with strength and didn't tolerate anyone messing with the mission. Trump is ensuring our military is unbreakable. In his first term, he rebuilt our forces when they were falling apart. He gave our troops the ships and planes they needed. And now, facing threats from all over the world, he is making sure they have something even more important, a chain of command they can trust. By supporting Hegseth's move to strip Kelly's rank, he is honoring every general and every foot soldier who came before. He is saying that the history of American strength isn't just a memory, it is alive, and it is here to stay. And knowing we have a leader who respects that history, it brings tears to my eyes, folks. It really does. You know, in this job, you hear a lot of noise. But today, the noise isn't just chatter, it's a roar. It's the sound of lions waking up. Since Secretary Hegseth made his move yesterday, the internet has been on fire, but in the best way possible. It's like a giant wave of relief is washing over the country. I want to talk about someone many of you know and respect, Jocko Willink. He's a Navy SEAL legend, a guy who knows more about discipline and leadership than almost anyone. When he saw what Mark Kelly did, trying to tell troops to rebel, Jocko didn't hold back. He called it exactly what it was, a political stunt. He said it was dangerous because it tries to split us apart. Hearing a warrior like that speak up, it validates everything we've been feeling. It tells us that we weren't crazy for being worried. We were right. And it's not just the famous guys. I've been scrolling through X, That's Twitter to some of you older folks, and the stories are just pouring in. I saw a post from a veteran that stopped me in my tracks. He wrote, "I lost buddies in wars that didn't make sense. We followed orders because we trusted the flag. Trump brought peace through strength. And Kelly's words dishonor every sacrifice my friends made." When you read that, you can feel the pain in his words. But you can also feel the healing, because for the first time in a long time, that veteran feels like someone in Washington is listening. He sees Pete Hegseth, a fellow soldier, dropping the hammer on Kelly, and he knows that his buddies didn't die in vain. He knows that honor is being restored. Even our friends overseas are watching. Allies who used to worry about America being weak are now seeing a strong president, Trump, and a strong military. They see us cleaning up our own house, and they respect it. It's a massive win, folks. It's the feeling of winning returning to America. We are standing tall again, chest out, proud of who we are and who leads us. And let me tell you, that feeling, it is worth every single tear of joy I've shed today. You know, folks, I've been sitting here trying to dry my eyes, but the tears just keep coming. And I realize something. These aren't just tears of happiness because our side won. These are tears of relief. Deep, soul-shaking relief. For so many years, we felt like strangers in our own country. We, the forgotten men and women, the silent majority, we played by the rules. We paid our taxes. We sent our kids to the military. We stood for the anthem. But what did we see in Washington? We saw a special club. If you were in that club, like Mark Kelly, you could do anything. You could lie, you could cheat, you could even tell troops to rebel, and nothing would happen to you. It felt like there were two sets of rules, one for them and one for the rest of us. It hurt. It made you wonder if the American dream was dying. It made you worry that your grandkids would grow up in the country where being powerful mattered more than being good. But yesterday, Pete Hegseth took a sledgehammer to that special club. When he went after Kelly's rank and pension, he sent a message that rang out from the coal mines of West Virginia to the cornfields of Iowa. He said, "No more." He said, "In President Trump's America, there is only one set of rules, and everyone has to follow them. I'm thinking about my little grandson, Billy. He wants to be a soldier one day. For the longest time, I was scared for him. I was scared he'd be led by people who didn't care about him. But now I can look him in the eye and say, Billy, your country is safe again. The bad guys aren't in charge anymore. That is what Donald Trump has done for us. He didn't just win an election. He saved our future. He stood up like a dad protecting his family and said, I will not let them hurt you. The era of weakness is over, folks. The era of the forgotten man is over. We are forgotten no more. We are seen, we are heard, and finally, we are winning. Friends, I need to wipe my eyes again, because what I am about to say is the most important part. We have talked about the past, and we have talked about the betrayal. But now, we have to talk about right now. This very minute, the world is a scary place. We have bad guys in Russia, in Iran, and right on our doorstep with the cartels. For the last few years, those bad guys were laughing at us. They saw our politicians fighting with our generals. They saw leaders like Mark Kelly telling troops to argue instead of fight. And you know what? It made our enemies bold. It made them think they could push us around. But yesterday, when Pete Hegseth dropped the hammer on Mark Kelly, the laughter stopped. I imagine the dictators in those dark rooms overseas. They are not laughing today. They are whispering. They are scared. They see that America isn't playing games anymore. They see that President Trump has a military that is loyal, disciplined, and ready. That Delta Force raid in Venezuela, the one Kelly complained about, it showed the bad guys that we can reach them anywhere, anytime. And now that Hegseth has silenced the critics here at home, our enemies know there is nothing holding us back. This is why I am crying tears of safety tonight. For the first time in a long time, I feel like the gate to our country is locked and the guard is awake. I feel like we can tuck our kids into bed and know that the monsters won't get in, because the men standing on the wall aren't confused anymore. They aren't looking over their shoulders wondering if a senator is going to sue them. They are looking outward, focused, and strong. President Trump has done this. He has made us feared by our enemies and respected by our friends. He has taken the confusion away and replaced it with iron. And for a guy like me who just wants his family to be safe, that is the greatest gift the president can give. We are safe, America. We are finally, truly safe. Folks, as we come to the end of this broadcast, I want to leave you with a picture in your mind. I want you to picture the sun coming up tomorrow morning. It's going to shine a little brighter. The air is going to smell a little sweeter. Why? Because for the first time in years, we know that justice has been served. We started this show talking about betrayal, about a senator who tried to turn our troops against our president. It was a dark, scary story. But look where we are now. We are celebrating a victory that will go down in the history books. Secretary Pete Hegseth didn't just strip a rank or cut a pension. He cut out the cancer of division that was hurting our military. He made sure that when President Trump gives an order, it rings out like a bell, clear, loud, and obeyed. I am looking at the monitor here in the studio, and I see the American flag waving behind me. It looks different to me tonight. It looks stronger. It looks proud. And I know that somewhere out there, a young soldier is looking at that same flag, and he stands a little taller too. He knows his leaders are united. He knows his country is one team again. This isn't just a political win, my friends. This is a spiritual win. It feels like God is smiling on America again. We went through the fire, we faced the lies, and we came out the other side stronger than ever. President Trump promised us he would make America great again. And every day, piece by piece, he is keeping that promise. He is building a fortress of freedom that no one, not Mark Kelly, not the media, not any foreign enemy, can ever tear down. So tonight, when you say your prayers, add a special thank you. Thank God for leaders with courage. Thank God for a military that honors its oath. And thank God that we live in a time where the good guys finally win. I am going to go home and hug my grandkids a little tighter, knowing their future is secure. This is the America we dreamed of, and it is finally here. Folks, if this story moved you as much as it moved me, please, I am begging you, do not let this moment pass. Hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss the truth. Click the like button to show the world where you stand. And share this video with every patriot you know. The mainstream media won't tell this story, so it is up to us. Let's spread the hope. Let's spread the victory. Thank you for watching Harlan Reports. Keep your faith strong, keep your head high, and never forget, truth wins here. Good night. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.